Hello, everybody. My name is Peter. I am the owner of the Parapsychology Twitter page. I'm here with Eris and May, both tarot readers. They've agreed to do an interview with me to answer a couple questions that I have about tarot. We're gonna just talk about the questions, talk about how we feel, talk about the method. So I'm really excited to do this. This is the first interview that I'm doing for an online audience. So I guess to start this off, we'll each introduce ourselves. Again, I'm Peter. I started a Twitter account about a year ago with the intent of learning more about the paranormal. I think parapsychology is a fascinating subject. Personally, I have a theory about witches, how they're processing their spells, collecting the crystals, collecting the ingredients, puts them in a particular mindset that enables them to do extraordinary things. So that's kind of one of the real fascinating things that I'm trying to kind of get to the bottom of. I think that Tara is certainly in the same lane. With as just to be open kimono, without having an official kind of paranormal union, there are no true certifications that I can obtain to kind of claim the title of parapsychologist. But I would argue that my personal credibility, the way that I look at things, the way that I present things, is what enables me to call myself a parapsychologist. But let me pass it off to Eris. Could you introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm, excuse me, I'm Eris, and like you mentioned, I am a tarot reader, have been for some time, and not sure really what else to say, but I feel I have a unique perspective when it comes to tarot, and I really enjoy being a reader and helping people, so that's pretty much me.
Thank you, May.
Uh, Hi, I'm May. I am a tarot reader, diviner, and witch. I've been reading tarot for 15 years, and I love to bring new people to their love of tarot.
Great. Well, thank you both for the introduction. We have a list of questions that I had sent out a couple days ago that we'll be going through. So for our first interview, some of the questions are a little bit more vanilla, but as we progress, as we get to know each other, the questions I think will become more pointed, more personal, more how does this really work? But I guess as the first step is always the hardest step, and let me just start with this question for the both of you: is what drew you to tarot reading? What got you into it? I guess what we'll do is we'll start with Eris, and we'll have May follow up, and we'll just each go. But what drew you to this?
Well, for me, it was I had to kind of really think about exactly like what drew me to it. But initially, I was looking with my studies in the occult. I was looking for a essentially like a divination tool, and tarot was the first divination tool that I discovered. I felt because of how established tarot was that I would get into it, and so I found a deck and then pretty much taught myself with the help of obviously a few books, and I kind of just took it from there.
Well, thank you for that. How about you, May?
So I was gifted my first deck on my ninth birthday. My mom was a tarot reader, and she would always read to me before school, and I wanted to be just like her. And so I had all of her books and all of her guidance from like her little journals from the 80s and 90s as my guide to start reading.
That's really cool. You guys both come from kind of a different approach to it. Eric started out with the own personal curiosity, obtaining the own deck. May, you kind of almost born into it, right? With your mother as a teacher. I I guess it kind of makes my second question, kind of almost a wash, but in the research that I've been doing, I've heard a lot of stories about the method that the reader obtains their first deck. And there was one person in particular who really felt like your first deck has to be gifted to you, has to be gifted by a friend, a teacher. and that's how it starts. That's how the gift starts, right? Not only the gift physically of the cards, but the gift of the ability to read them. But on the other hand, there are other people who believe that you must be drawn to your own deck, that has to kind of call to you, that you'll see it in a store, online, or wherever, and that is how you have the connection to your deck personally. Um, and so I guess Eris, you had mentioned like you'd obtained your own deck. What drew you to that? What made you feel like this is going to work for me?
Well, essentially, like I mean, I wanted to learn tarot, and the first deck that I actually got was Crowley's Thoth deck. And the thing is that like I started learning that, but then I wanted, because of how it deviates from the Rider-Waite system, I decided to get a Rider-Waite because I wanted to kind of have I guess the basics down and some of that too. And then because I was at the time I was like really he's starting to get into Crowley, so, and read a lot of his work, and so I decided to get that deck first, and then so I kind of understood it, and then I was reading like the guidebook and everything, and it, you know, it says like this is how this deviates from the quote unquote standard tarot, and I was like, okay, well I should probably, it's kind of like, yeah, you want to know the basics and stuff like that too. I mean, there's various variations, but for me it was just like I just kind of wanted to know it all.
No, thank you. Pardon my ignorance. When you say Crowley deck, are you talking about Aleister Crowley?
Yes, sorry, yeah, Aleister Crowley.
Okay. You'd also mentioned a heavy deck.
The Thoth deck.
Thoth deck.
That,
Okay.
yeah, like THOTH.
Those were some terms I'm not personally familiar with.
Oh, okay.
But no, thank you for that. May, can I ask about your first deck that your mother gave you? You know, do you feel like that has a special connection to you, that it's different than other decks you may have?
Absolutely. I have it with me in my hands right now. It's just a basic Rider-Waite deck. I've always felt really connected to it and more in tune with it than any of my other decks because it's basically been with me throughout my entire life. But I also believe that the way you get a deck doesn't matter, and you know, any way you get a deck is valid, even if it's just picking one up at the store or having it gifted to you. I think it's just the magic that like you put into it is what matters.
Thank you for that. So you had mentioned it's a Rider-Waite deck.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, that must be the heavy weight that I was thinking. Can I ask what does that mean? Rider-Waite deck?
So Rider-Waite are like the creators of the like most classic tarot deck. I think it was 2 or 3 people who came up with it because I think its real name is Rider-Waite Smith.
Yeah.
And it's like when you Google a tarot deck, that's always the deck that comes up in all the photos.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you for that. I personally, I don't have any special gifts, so I don't personally have a deck or anything. I'm really more curious about the, you know, how you're able to do it. But this, I mean, that's the interesting addition that I'll certainly have to look into. But I guess moving on to the next question. Okay, so like, you know, so now we know how you've got the deck. How are you preparing yourself for these readings? I read several books about Enochian magic. I've talked to several other folks about you know, their psychic abilities, and one of the kind of the common threads that I've noticed is that there's some people who feel really compelled to like bathe, shower, wash themselves beforehand, doing a meditation, and so that they can feel clean both physically and mentally before starting this process. You know, how do you, I guess, do you feel there's this is a valid? How do you personally prepare?
Well, I mean, I get what you're saying with some people who want to essentially cleanse themselves in various ways. There's no right or wrong way to prepare. I think it really just depends on who you are and what. Like for me, like one of the pretty much the things that um, is that I do is that I make sure I go to the bathroom. I usually have a cigarette just to kind of calm my nerves. Because regardless of how long someone has been reading, sometimes there's still nerves. Like I still feel them. I'm not sure if May has the same thing, but like I don't know. For me, it's just I have like a lot of kind of an energy buildup within me, and then I just need to kind of like stabilize. So it's like I said, I usually just smoke a cigarette to do that, and then I go for it, and then quite often like I'll just start reading the cards, and all this information starts coming at me, and then yeah, I just do my best to decipher it for my client.
Thank you. How about you, May?
I absolutely have to shower before I read for other people. I have to take away my own energies, my own thoughts, and like everything that I've built up through the day. I always clean the room that I'm going to be reading in before too. I'll clean it top to bottom, declutter, like Windex everything, and like I have to just prepare myself to have somebody else's energy in my life.
Wow, thank you. Do you think is that more related to, you had mentioned that you were a witch?
Mhm.
Is that like the cleanliness, the cleaning, the preparing the room? Does that come more from that aspect of your life, or is it more of a Terra kind of aspect?
I think it comes more from the witch side because the more I clean also depends on the moon. Because right now, a new moon just passed, and when there's a new moon, I feel like I have to clean even more. So, like, I took a break for a couple days from my business, and I just spent the entire time cleaning my house top to bottom. That way, I can focus more on my business and on my readings.
Well, thank you for that. From what I'm hearing, it sounds like you both have your own distinct kind of process and procedure before reading these cards. Eris, you do the smoking and kind of psych yourself out for that ejection of energy that you have, and May with the cleaning. And that kind of goes back to my theory about, like it's really a process that you have to go through to get your mind just in that right mindset to be able to do this. And I guess moving on to my secondary question with this is, do you feel that there are some days where these it's more vivid to you, the readings, the answers, I guess the placement of the moon or the sun is shining that day? Are there days where it's like, wow, this is really working?
I would say yes. I feel like some days, I mean, you could boil it down to, astrological, this, that, or the other. But there are times where, like, you do a read, and all of a sudden, like, it's just like you just like all this kind of information thrown at you, and all of it is just like sometimes it feels more chaotic, sometimes it's a lot more calm and clear. It really depends on. I mean, what I've noticed is it really depends on who I'm reading for too, and like what's going on with them and what I'm picking up from them. So it's very much, I don't know, the way I see it is that it's all it's all energy always in flux in various forms. So like, but I actually kind of like that too, because like a lot of my work, like even uh with my own stuff, gets very, I'm all about the chaos. um and yeah, because like in terms of like, because with me mentioning about like her being more involved with witchcraft, like I would be considered well, to boil it down, would be a chaos magician. um it's chaos magic is kind of is a paradigm shifting paradigm, in the sense that it you can take from all kinds of different schools and kind of apply it in a more personalized way, but at the same time, you're able to switch back and forth depending on your needs. Um, so I kind of, when there are days or reads of that too, where everything is more, you know, depending on how in flux things are. Like I consider myself very adaptable to that kind of thing. So, but to to give a short answer, yeah, I do think that there are times when things are more chaotic, less chaotic. Uh, you know, there are times when it's just like it's crazy.
Wow. Well, thank you for that, the clarification. And you know, I have never personally heard of a chaos magician, but I will certainly look into that. That sounds really interesting. And May, I'm not sure if you had noticed on one of the questions that I had asked you, I kind of stuttered at saying that you're a witch, and that's my own personal ignorance, which is like, can you say that? Is that okay to say? Like,
Oh, yeah, absolutely. No, I'm a witch. Yeah, like, oh, 100%. I call myself a witch. Like, it's not offensive at all. That's just what I am.
no,
When I'm speaking more professionally, I do say diviner because my type of witchcraft is more divination than anything else.
no, thank you both for that. You can read 100 books by yourself, but when you don't get the lingo, you don't get the this is okay to say and this is not. So thank you both for your understanding. But for May, do you feel like some days are more vivid for you?
Absolutely. Some days I'm not in touch with my own intuition. Some days I can get a complete picture. It all depends on every factor from the person I'm reading to myself to, the stars, the moon phase, and everything.
Thank you very much. And you both actually said kind of the same thing, which is kind of depends on the other person too
Hmm.
that you're reading, which really lends nicely to the next question. This is working out very nicely, which is what are your feelings about in-person reading versus online? To me, I would assume that an in-person reading would be more accurate, more personal. I again make another assumption that it's a lot like having an in-person meeting at work versus one over Zoom. Both methods probably give a similar result, but one would argue that an in-person meeting would be more impactful. You can see people's eyes, the way that they're moving, fidgeting in their chair, right? Like you have that kind of personal connection. But for the both of you, where you have this gift, this ability to read the cards for these people, how is in person versus online? How does that work for you? What are the differences?
um, well, in person, it's you have in person you have obviously you're right in front of them, so you could see like their body movement, like their what you could call their body language, and then so you see the reactions to what you say to them, and so it's I don't know if the word intimate is maybe the right one, but I probably for lack of a better term, it is there's that more it's in a more intimate setting. I mean my the way that with my business online, I prefer when I have a client to do a video read because I can show the cards and stuff like that too. So I still get to see some, their reactions and stuff like that. But there's obviously that technological barrier. But I actually had someone a little while ago. They actually said that they were really skeptical about how accurate the read would be because of doing it on through a video chat. But then they pretty much told me afterwards that they were convinced. um, so but yeah, no, it's definitely. I think each brings its own unique. Each thing is unique, but I think I personally believe that we just need to do things the way that we're comfortable with, whether it's text. I know some people do text-based reads where the person doesn't even need to be present and they send off what they saw and stuff like that. But I always like to have some form of whether it be on the phone or on a video chat. I like to do it quote unquote live, as opposed to like some people who do like what I call them tarot reports.
No, thank you very much. That is a really really fascinating response. So you really want to be able to see the person, the physical proximity for your gift is kind of inconsequential. It's kind of just seeing them rather than kind of spitting out a report, like you're saying, like, okay, I'm just going to kind of shuffle this up and this is what you get. Yours is more about seeing the person.
I mean, that's my preference. Like I have done in the past, I have done like what I call remote reads where they're not even present, and I just like I write notes and everything, and then send it off to them later. I I stopped pretty much doing that. Like I occasionally will do like DM reads like on Twitter, like someone like I'll draw maybe like anywhere between 1 to 3 cards for someone, and then I type it all up. But my preference is always to have some sort of interactive experience.
I see. Boy, so many follow-up questions for this particular and certainly feel free to say no. You didn't give me this question beforehand, but can I ask you, when you were doing a reading for a person who's not there, how are you getting, like, this is a reading for this particular person, right? A person that you may not actually know. You have their kind of their handle on Twitter. Like, how do you get the hello universe, please give me the reading for this person who's not here?
Well, I honestly would say that it comes like it's something that is really hard to quantify or to kind of you know make it sound logical. Like it's just one of those things where I kind of open myself up, and then the information comes through the cards. And in some cases too, like there's been a few times too where I dealt out the spread. I had however many cards, and I obviously would reveal them one at a time. But in some cases, like I knew what card was next. Like I guessed it before I even turned it. So just maybe to give you an idea of I would just say it's intuition and perception. That's probably the best way I could really quantify that.
Thank you. That is a really well thought out response. And sorry for kind of throwing that secondary question at you without having prepped. But that is really, really fascinating. Thank you. May, can I ask you, how do you feel about in person versus online?
Well, I have been online only the entire time that I've run my business. I have only done in-person readings for my husband and like friends when I was in school, and I've always preferred the online way because I do my best when I'm by myself. And I am just able to get completely in tune with their energies. I don't do it on the phone or over like video or anything. I do the text based. And with the tapping into somebody else's energy, there is a word for it, and it's clairsentient, and it's knowing without knowing. And that's kind of how I describe it, is I just work with my intuition, and I can give a good reading and just know just by being by myself. So I've always preferred like the online way.
Thank you for that. It's, again, I don't have these gifts, right? And so you're kind of trying to explain to a blind person how you see, right? Oh, well, the tree is green, right? It's hard to articulate. And so, I mean, please pardon my ignorance, but I mean, so you both have multiple clients, right? That you're doing these readings for. Like, how are you sure that it's not getting mixed up? Like, okay, I'm doing a reading for person X. How are you sure you're not getting person Y's response? Like, how are you getting into the mindset for I'm doing this for person X?
It's just one of those things that it's really hard to say exactly. It's just, for me, it just happens. Like I know. Thing is, like when you're doing reads and stuff like that too, like if you are doing, let's say someone that you are familiar with, like a friend or whatever, like there is that sometimes difficulty to remove your own biases from it because of what you know about them. But yeah, like it's just, for me, it's like May was saying with like like you have the, what I call them, just like the clairs, you know, claircognizant, clairvoyant, and everything like that. I, I hesitate to use those words, even though like they are the best words to describe the whole thing. But um, I just, I don't know. I feel like with the kind of chaotic flux of the energy that exists in this world, it sometimes you have to kind of just shut out the noise and reach for what you're looking for. And that's essentially, I don't know, the best way I could really describe what I do. Um,
Thank you very much. May, or are you comfortable answering that question?
Yeah.
If you're not, please. I mean, I gave you guys questions beforehand, and I'm going off the reservation.
No,
okay.
it's okay. Yeah. No, this is really cool. It's cool how it can kind of segue into other things. Honestly, sometimes I worry and I'll send out a reading being unsure about it and I won't know until I get a response. But, usually when I'm unsure, they're the readings that resonate with the client the most. And they're always the ones that come back for more. So I've never really like had like a mix up where like I felt like I was reading someone else's energy instead of, their own.
Awesome. Well, thank you both for the responses to this. Um, I think we're actually at the point in the questions where we'll probably end this part as part one, and we'll go ahead and we will start part two